Hey friends, if you are looking for some homemaking motivation, general cooking and stuff like that, you've come to the right place. Today I'm going to prepare some hard-boiled eggs, do some smoked brisket, some jalapeno hamburgers, and a bunch of other things. So I hope you guys enjoy. One thing that really helps with having things organized is planning out my meals for the week, planning out the meals for our family. There were a bunch of things that I knew I needed to take care of, and so today you get to come along and join me as I take care of those things. One thing that I needed to do was hard-boil some eggs. These my husband likes to eat for breakfast in the morning. It makes for a really quick, good protein-based breakfast. He also has a protein shake as well. But anyways, I like to have these on hand, so it was high time to get some eggs hard-boiled. I don't use my Instapot for a ton of things, but this is one of those things that I do use it a lot for. Do you guys use your Instapots on a regular basis? Or tell me if you don't have one. I'd be super curious. It seems like one of those things that people in general have nowadays, but occasionally I hear about someone who doesn't have one and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, if you have a crock pot, why would you need an Instapot? I realize there are some things Instapots do that crock pots can't, but I guess I have an Instapot instead of a crock pot. So anyways, once that was done, then I just took the eggs out and put them in the fridge to cool down. Typically, I prefer to peel them right away, but my husband doesn't mind them being peeled later on, so that's what we do. The next thing I needed to do was get some sweet potatoes taken care of. These are great for giving to my little 6-month-old. I have also started using them in milkshakes for, say, lunches for me. It's kind of fun to do think of a pumpkin spice protein shake, only you use sweet potatoes and throw in chocolate chips and some sort of protein sweetener, and then some maple extract or something like that, and it's really good. Anyways, I threw those in the oven, and then after a couple hours they were ready to go. You'll notice this video is not totally in sequence in terms of time. I was trying to just bunch things together so that way they would make sense in context. I like to be as productive as I can, so once I got those things going, then I pulled out my notebook just to make a list because I wanted to keep track of all the different things that I wanted to put together. This was happening during my son's nap time, and so I needed to make sure I was strategic with how I did things so that I could keep things going, get stuff done, and do as much as I could before he was up and needed some attention. You'll probably notice some of these things I made. Most of them I was able to make. Some of them I ended up swapping out and doing something else instead, but you'll see when I get to those. The last couple times I had been to the store, noticed they did not have the Greek yogurt that I like to buy. So this time I just grabbed a jug of fat-free milk and decided, let's make our own yogurt. Here's the process for that. I can link a recipe in the description, but basically you just want to bring the milk up to about 180 degrees. Then once it hits that, then you want to cool it down to 110. Then once it's 110, you add your starter, which for me was some yogurt that I had previously. You let it sit for about 24 hours, kind of bundle it up, and then you should be able to strain it. The last couple times I made it, it didn't turn out. I was wondering if maybe my starter wasn't strong enough. So this time around, I used full-fat yogurt and then just mixed that into my yogurt you can see there it was already cooled. It was already cooled sitting in the water. And then I just set it aside for about 24 hours or so, and it had gelled very nicely. Lastly, I strained the yogurt once it was done, and I ended up with about 2 quarts, which was pretty good. Next thing up, it was time to make some almond milk. I generally make about 2 batches of this a week because I use a lot of it in coffee, drinks, milkshakes, that kind of thing. And I tend to water mine down, so if you're following Trim Healthy Mama, it ends up being more of a fuel pull because it's not very fatty just because of the ratio of water to almonds. But I had soaked these overnight, and so it's super easy. You just throw that into the blender once you rinse them, blend that up, strain it, and then add your water, and that's all there is to it. In our freezer, I noticed that we still had some brisket from about 6 months ago, maybe even a little bit more. So I had asked my husband, what should I do with it? Should I grind it up and make hamburger meat, or should I do like barbecued pulled beef? And he was like, why don't you do the pulled beef? So I'm like, okay. So after defrosting it, then I just took it and tried to remove as much of the fat as I could. I know they say there's a lot of fat and there's a lot of flavor in the fat, but this was just too much fat for me. Then I seasoned it really well with a beef rub that my mom had actually put together, and then I just put that onto a super, super hot skillet and let it go because I wanted to get a good sear on it. Now I had poured into this pot a jar of barbecue sauce. Once that was done, then I went and put a jar of barbecue sauce into my Instapot. It's some I had left over from a pizza, so it was the perfect time to get it used up. And then I went ahead and just put the meat into that. I believe I put some apple cider vinegar in to help tenderize the meat. And I'm trying to think if that was anything else. I think that was the majority of the stuff that I put in there. And then I just put the lid on and just let it go for a number of hours, just trying to let it stew a little bit. The next thing I wanted to do was to soften some butter and have that on hand for using on sandwiches and buns and that kind of thing. So I threw a couple sticks of softened butter into my blender along with some olive oil, just blended that up, and then it's good to go. You just throw it in the fridge. Whenever you need to use it, pull it out, and it's super easy to spread. It's really nice. Like I said, these are all things that we use on a regular basis, so they may seem like weird staples to you, but for us it's stuff that we needed to, I don't know, make or have on hand. So then I went over my list and was crossing stuff out. I did stop to take a food break a couple different times. This video was over the course of maybe 4 hours, so I needed to stop and refuel. Anyways, it was on to then taking care of the ground beef. We're not in a place right now where I can go out and we're not in a place right now where we can, say, buy half a cow or something like that, which I know would be much more ideal. However, I do my best and we get a deal by buying a larger chunk of ground beef from Wally World. So here you can see me preparing to split the meat up. I like to freeze it in sections. So what I did first was measure out the amount that I was going to need for the recipes that I've got coming up that I'm going to make here towards the end of the video. And then the rest of the meat I measured out into pound or pound and a half sections, and then I threw that into the freezer. I obviously wasn't totally thinking ahead. As after I had bagged it, I realized I should totally brown up some for some taco meat. So that's what I did. I threw it into a pot and stuck it on the stove. Now, I learned recently a way to kind of hack your beef to make it stretch and go further is to add some cauliflower. So once the meat was all cooked, then I took a couple bags, about 2.5 bags of cauliflower, and just rinsed that up, blended it. I threw it in the Cuisinart and did a section at a time and just pulverized it until I got to kind of rice-sized consistency, and then I threw that into the meat. Lastly, I added my taco seasoning, and then I let that simmer for a while, just kind of let it season, and then it was good to go. one of the things I wanted to make were some apple cinnamon muffins. Now, when I went to make it, I discovered I did not have the applesauce that it called for, so I ended up subbing some pumpkin puree, whatever. It didn't turn out quite as nice as when you use applesauce, but it wasn't too bad. So I would recommend using applesauce if you were to make this. I can link the recipe book. It's from Trim Healthy Future. Anyways, it didn't take me too long to whip it up, and as of now, when I'm working on editing this video, half of them are already gone. So they were pretty good. My husband liked it. My little guy, he enjoys having it for snack, and I've been enjoying it as well. For the next recipe, I decided I wanted to make one of our more recent favorites, and that were some spicy barbecue meatballs. It's a really delicious recipe. I've had kind of fun with it, taking it to some different friends' houses, and it's fun to be able to share this recipe. It's generally one that most people like. So I went ahead and mixed it up. Of course, I will be sure to link any of the recipes that I use or the respective cookbook as I am able in the description. was actually preparing to do a bunch of freezer meals, so that's why I used these tin pans. Normally I would not use those, but I was going to take some to a friend's house as well as stick some in the freezer, so they came in super handy. I need to really look up on Amazon and buy them in a bigger quantity, because I've used a smaller size up till now for us, but our family's definitely growing, the kids are eating more, and I'm finding the portions that we are needing are bigger than what they used to be. Anyways, I'm going to have to start ordering those containers online, I think, because when you go to buy them at the dollar store, they're like 75 cents for each one of those or something. Here's a funny fact. I had to get my husband's help for opening up the tomato sauce. For some reason, I haven't been feeling the strongest lately, and normally I have no trouble just popping that open, but when I went to open it, I was like, I'm so tired, I can't do this. And he had just happened to pop in the house, so I was like, here, honey, can you open this? He also managed to accidentally turn the light off, but that wasn't too big of a deal. So then I mixed up the sauce and then just spread it all over the top of the meatballs. This recipe, you won't see it in completion because I froze the meat raw. So I just put the sauce on, threw covers on them, and stuck them in the freezer and marked them. Now when I go to serve them, defrost them, and then you sprinkle a whole nice generous amount of cheese over the top, cheddar cheese over the top, and then go ahead and bake it. So it's going to be pretty much ready to go. I'm thinking I'm going to probably use them for Sunday lunches. That's the kind of meal that they would be great for. Take a nursing break. Back to the kitchen. I was gonna make meatloaf, but my husband was like, why don't you do burgers? So I think I'm gonna make jalapeno burgers. I'm just gonna get the discs of meat ready to go and then stick them in the freezer. I'm kind of maxed out energy wise, so besides I have a whole pile of dishes behind me to do. So let's get those burgers done in the freezer, and then that'll be it for today. You'll see me once again getting a little snack while I work on getting the jalapeno burgers. I was actually relieved when he said that he would like these because, like I said, it was kind of the end of getting towards the end of the day, and I was starting to feel pretty tired and like, why did I decide to do this many things? I knew I wouldn't regret it though, so it was just kind of sticking to the end and getting it done. As you can see behind me, there's a whole pile of dishes, so there was plenty of stuff still that I needed to do. Guys, that's all the baking I have for today. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed watching today's video, I do have some more similar style, like homemaking, cooking type videos, so you'll want to check the playlist. And thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a great day.